everybody, welcome to Love Notions channel. This is Natita from So Natural Dane. I am coming in today with a fun video. But first, let's start with what today is, and that is your Feature Friday pattern. So for those who are first time tuning in and you do not know what a Feature Friday is, it is on Fridays. Love Notions will send out a newsletter, a post letting you know what the Feature Friday $5 pattern is. And so that is what today is. Today only, now the $5 sale is only for 24 hours. And so only today can you get the Harmony blouse for $5. Today is Friday, July 14th. So you will be able to get this pattern today, but don't let this day slip away without grabbing this pattern. Today, I'm going to share with you some fun design and finishing details for the Harmony blouse. The Harmony blouse is made for a woven, a little bit more of a drapey woven. It also has different sleeve variations. So you have sleeveless, you have your flutter sleeve, which I have on today, and you also have your cap sleeve and your short sleeve. So it does have sleeve variations. You will also notice that it is a little bit, it's not overly fitted, but it is more fitted around the bust, and it is meant to be more roomy around the hip, the high hip area, to give a little bit more of a flow for your drapey fabric. What I also love about the Harmony blouse is that it has bust darts. So you do have bust darts in the front. The back piece has a center back seam to allow for that more shaping in the back, which will be absolutely beautiful. We'll talk about that in a moment. And it also have a keyhole closure, which we'll also talk about. I am so super excited to share with you the different versions that I have made up. I am going to start with the version I am wearing today, which is in a nice drapey rayon challis, and with the flutter sleeve is the sleeve I decided to do on this particular version. And I did do the keyhole back version as well, and I will show you what that looks like on here on the screen here. But what I absolutely love about this particular look is that not only does it have the nice flow away from the hips in this nice rayon challis, but it is nice and flowy over, say, if you wore a skirt, or if you see here, I have these on with some culottes, and I have it on with some nice simple jewelry. Now this look, I would say, hey, maybe you're running errands for the day, maybe you're meeting some friends out for lunch, maybe you're having a day date, something like that. Absolutely love how this turns out. This was sewn up as the pattern is written, again, in a nice drapey woven fabric. Now for a pattern review, I will say this pattern is absolutely easy. So if you're just doing any of the sleeve versions, and with the top here, it is only 3 pieces. So you only have the front, the back, and the sleeve if you choose to do a sleeve. Now, if you're not doing the sleeve, and we will get into that in a moment, you only have your front and back. Your back, again, is cut out on 2 pieces to add for some additional draping in the back. And so that is what I did here. Furthermore, the pattern is very clear on how you add your binding around the neckline. For this particular version, I did self-binding. I created my own binding for this. Typically, I use binding in my stash, but I thought this fabric is just way too gorgeous. I had just enough left to, to create my own binding. So I did that for this version, and I did it as well for these other 2 versions. And so I'm not going to go into detail about finishing off creating your own binding. What I will do is leave a link down in the description box. There is a tutorial that Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles did several years ago. And so I remember watching that video years ago, and then just always did that technique. And so I finally went ahead and did it on these different versions, and I'm so happy that I did. And so yeah, creating your own binding will be absolutely a punch up in the right direction for your garment. So One of the things I absolutely also love about the instructions is it tells you if you need to, it guides you through the process if you need to maybe lower or raise your bust dart. So for me, so what I have done is I have lowered my bust dart on this version, on the 2 woven. I have a knit version here. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I did lower the bust dart. The instructions is very clear on how to do that. It even has a pictorial to show you how to move your bust dart up and down. So super easy. That's exactly what I did. Laid the pattern out, measured from my shoulder on me to where my apex hits on me, and then I move the bust dart accordingly, according to the directions within the pattern. Another thing I love about the pattern is it's quick. It is simple, it is easy, and if you do decide to extend it to a dress like I did, also super easy. So that is the overall review of the Harmony blouse. I absolutely love it, and I'm getting ready to share with you the other 2 versions that I made. Okay, so my second version I am presenting to you today is made out of Ankara. Ankara is a cotton, and so this is something that has a little bit more sturdiness to it, gives you a little bit more of a body in your finished garment look. I will pop up pictures and a couple video clips so you can see how it looks, but I absolutely love how it turned out. And one of the design ideas I want to share with you today, besides the fact that obviously you can create your own binding, again, I only had so much of this fabric left, so it was absolutely perfect. The pattern calls for between 1.5 to 2 yards, depending on the sizing that you pick. So I had about maybe 2.25 yards of this left, of this fabric left. And so what I decided to do is do the sleeveless version. Absolutely love the sleeveless version. You will be able to tell in the pictures. I paired this particular look with a skirt, and something that again can be worn to maybe to work, maybe a day date, maybe lunch out, something like that, however you decide. You all know I love me some chunky jewelry, so I had to wear some chunky jewelry in there, right? And so I absolutely love it. Again, holding this up so you can see, I also did the self-binding. I created my self-binding, have it around the arm side here, as well as the hem. I had just enough fabric to create this binding, and I am so happy with it. Now, one of the things I want to share with you to have some fun with that keyhole. So you all know with this version, the original version, I sewed this one up completely as the pattern instructions designate for you to do, right? And so for this version, I did the exact same thing, sewed it up the exact same way, except for my keyhole, I decided to extend the binding all the way down like this. I extended it, I want to say this is about 13, if I remember correctly, 13 to 14 inches to allow me to do a little tie at the front. One of the things I wanted to do was add beads, but I couldn't find the beads that I wanted at the bottom. But anyway, so if you decide to extend this, you can do a little tie in the back. And one of the things that in order to get that tie look where you'll have so you can sew it, because if you can tell, I did start from this end and sew it all the way. And so instead of turning the binding down per the instructions, I just wrapped it around the neckline instead. That's how I did it, so I can continue sewing past the keyhole closure and just extend it all the way out. So I absolutely love this version as well. This will also get a lot of wear in the summertime. And this final look, I am so excited about. This is a knit version. I bet you did not know that you can sew your Harmony up in knit. but you will have to pay attention to the sizing. So I did that with this particular version, but here's some fun design details that I wanted to share with you. Again, I finished off the neckline with the binding, created my own binding for the neckline as well as for the arm side, and the hem I just serged and turned under. And so that's how that was finished off. But we're going to turn this inside out because I want to share something with you that might help your knits that you might feel are a little clingy to your body, or say they're thinner. Maybe a knit that you have is just a little bit thinner than you would like. I would suggest, and I am going to share this with you, add lining to it. Add a very nice lining to it. Adding a lining allows the fabric not to cling to the body, right? And for me, the lining, I'll tell you the type of lining I use. I did not finish the hem of the lining that's inside of the dress, only because it's not necessary. It's a knit. And so I'm going to share with you the type of lining that I use for this dress. But I wanted to share with you first how the inside look, because you can still get that nice clean finish by wrapping the binding around the arm side and around the neckline, and still get this beautiful, beautiful finish. All right, so the lining, let's talk a little bit about the lining. The lining is what's known as a tricot lining. Tricot lining. I will leave a link down in the description box where I purchased my tricot lining, but it is 100% nylon, and the beautiful thing about it, there's a couple nice things about it. I'll show you. This is the lining. This is in white. I've seen tricot lining in all different kind of colors. We have white. I've seen it in beige. I've seen it in black. I've seen it in blue. I've actually used it in a light blue many years ago for a knit skirt that I made. But what is really nice about tricot is it stretches. It's made for knits, and it stretches. It has a beautiful stretch to it. Beautiful stretch. And so you want to make sure that if you're going to line your knit, that you do use a lining such as this. The other thing about tricot is it is 108 inches wide, so you will get a lot of bang for your buck when you purchase your tricot, because you'll be able to put it in, you know, so many different types of garments. Maybe it's a skirt, like I said, maybe it's just a top instead of a dress. And so that is what I use, and that is the drape of the tricot. As you can tell, it is super drapey and has a nice amount of stretch, beautiful amount of stretch. And so what I wanted to mention about the fabric that I use, my fashion fabric, you see what kind of stretch it has. And so I knew lining it with the tricot would be good. And so that worked really nice. So you can always test your different knits depending on what you have. I think this will work beautiful with the ITY. Sometimes people find ITYs to be clingy. This particular fabric is more of a poly spandex, but I find it to be staticky, if that makes sense. It has, in that makes it cling, at least in my experience. And so I didn't want that in my final garment, so I decided to line it in the tricot. And so one of the couple things I do want to point out, again, I did not finish the hem, left the edge raw. Now I'm doing this in a cheater way. So the way I lined it, and I will pop up a clip while I am talking, I laid my pattern piece out, all of my pattern pieces flat on the table, and I cut the tricot out in this exactly as I would the fashion fabric, laid it on top, and then I made sure to clip all the way around, making sure everything was nice and flat, nothing was bunching or anything like that. And so that's how I combined mine tricot to my fashion fabric. And If you are concerned about the darts, there's two options. I'll tell you the option that I chose. You can, for your tricot, you don't have to do your dart. You can go ahead and pinch the dart out and then go ahead and sew everything together, because obviously when you put the dart in the front and then you take the dart out the back, you know, it'll be nice and smooth. I did not have any issues with this fabric that I use by putting my dart in the front of the tricot, as well as obviously the dart in the front of the fashion fabric. What I did was, when I laid them together, I made sure the right side of the tricot lining was laying against the wrong side of the fashion fabric, just to make sure that nothing shifted. And so when I clipped everything together, I first, and I'll just hold this up so you can see, I pinned the two pieces at the dart together. And that was for me to ensure that I didn't have any shifting going on with the bust darts. And so again, you can do it a couple different ways. Again, you can pinch the dart out, and then you have to sew up your fashion fabric first with the dart and then pin them all the way around, or make sure your darts are in, lay them together and pin them all the way around. But so that's how I did that. And then also what I did was, once everything was pinned together, I sewed everything as if they were one piece of fabric. So for example, as you can tell, the back is sewn, it's serged. I serged everything. And so I just serged everything together. You don't have to finish it off like this. You can choose to have your tricot lining loose in here, as opposed to sewn it as one piece. But that is how I wanted to finish off mine. Real simple, real quick and easy. That way, side seam, same thing. Sewed everything together as one piece. So I absolutely love the way it turned out. And this here is keeping the fabric from feeling clingy around my body. I am going to show in a quick clip how to extend your harmony blouse into a dress. Okay, so this is my harmony blouse piece. You can probably tell from markings, I've already traced this off because I am doing it in a knit, but I've also done it in the original version for woven. And so I've already did what I needed to do to the pattern and traced this front off. So now what I'm going to quickly show you is how I plan to extend this into a dress. So what I've done, if you can tell, there is some green marking here for sleeveless, where I have marked sleeveless, and then I marked the line that's for the sleeveless line. And then my sizing for the woven, I started at an extra large at the top and went to a 2X right above before that dart, to go out into a 2X, just to give me a little bit more room. I want more swishiness in my top. And so for my dress version, two things I'm going to do. I am going to go down a size. So I marked the original just so I knew where it was and how it fit me when I wore the woven version, so I can pretty much guesstimate how much I need to take in. So what I am going to do is go down a size, but I am going to keep it at a 2X around here. What I don't want, this is the area for me, I want to be more mindful of around that shoulder and around the arm side. So I'm going down a size. So instead of it being an extra large, I'm going down to a large, and I'm going to keep it at a large all the way around the shoulder and around the arm side, and then I will keep it at a 2X around from the bust point down. I will keep it at a 2X because I do want it to be more flowy in that area. Then, if you can tell, I'm going to move this up here. But what I am going to do, I have marked this green line, which is the lengthen and shorten line. And let me zoom in for you. So if you can tell, here's the lengthen and shorten line. What I am going to do, because I know this is the waist area on me, and I measured everything. You'll have to do the same, but I know from my waist down how much I want this to, the length I want the dress to be. And typically I always, you know, do 24 inches is what I want my hem to hit. So if we measure from this point down to the end of the pattern, we are already at approximately 12 inches. So in taking the seam allowance into consideration, remember it's 3/8 inch. I only need to lengthen this because I want it to be about 24, 25. I am going to cut here and lengthen this to be on the safe side. I am, instead of just lengthening it 12 inches, I am going to lengthen it 26. That's just to give me some room, some wiggle room, and for me to try it on, see where it's hitting, because I can always make a deeper hem. The thing is, you can't you can take away fabric, you can't add fabric, so keep that in mind. So I am going to lengthen this. It measures 12 inches from here down to the hem. I am going to lengthen this 14 to get me to that 26. So get you some fresh paper, put it underneath, tape it, because this is now going to be your new pattern. Go ahead and mark your, draw in your, make sure your grain line is drawn down on the new paper. You just want to make sure it's here so you can see it, and you're staying straight. Everything is straight, right? And so we know I wanted to go down 14, so you can't really see my ruler, but I know 14 is right here. So what I am going to do is lay the 14 down, make sure everything is lined up on that grain line. And I know from this point down, and let me go out a little bit here so you can see, I know from this point down is 14. I'm just gonna mark it there so I know this is where I need to attach, reattach my pattern piece to create the dress. So let's go ahead and do that. And the thing about drawing your grain line, you are making sure the grain line from the bottom of the pattern is on that line that you drew up above. Mine didn't go all the way down, but I did draw a short line here. So I knew I'm putting the bottom of the fabric, the pattern right up against that line, making sure I'm continuing the grain line. Everything is nice and flat. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure you go ahead and true back up your sides. Make sure everything is lined back up. Remember, this is your fold line. You can always redraw that in. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure the opposite end of your dress is trued up. I want the bottom of the pattern here to meet up to here where I extended it. So taking my longer ruler, and I'm just going to place it at the bottom of the pattern here where it ends, and just make sure that everything meets up. Now it's just going to be just a touch cut off here at the top, but you'll see once I draw this line. And I'll put it in a different color for you. So what I have done is drawn a line from here to the edge of that pattern. So that extra is going to be just a little extra room here and in this area, which I am fine with. Now my dress pattern is all ready to go, and I can begin the next steps. Oh, and I also want to mention, if you are going to turn your woven blouse into a knit garment, in particular a dress, depending on the drape of your knit, you will want to move that dart piece in a different place. So for this particular type of knit, I moved the dart back up 1 inch. I had already adjusted the dart to move it down about 2¼ inches on the woven versions, but you will want to make sure you do that. And the reason I moved it back up is because the knit has more drape and it hangs differently, so I didn't want my bust dart to be lower in my knit than it needed to be. So make sure you are tracing off all of your pattern pieces so you do not have to keep making those adjustments over and over. Everybody, I hope that explanation was easy enough to follow. Of course, anything that you did on the front pattern piece, you'll have to do on the back. If you try this, please leave a comment down below so we can hear all about your experience, or maybe you've already extended your harmony into a dress. And if you are in the a colder climate right now and you want to make the harmony into a dress, go ahead and then throw your Oakley vest over if you have the Love Notions Oakley, or if you're doing this for the office or church, go ahead and make your Metro blazer and put that over it as well, or cardigan. You can dress it up, dress it down, however you like. I hope this was helpful for you today. Don't forget, today only, $5 Feature Friday, the Harmony Blouse by Love Notion Patterns. Again, I will leave a link down below where you can find me and link to all the resources that I have mentioned in this video. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. Bye.